Dear viewers, fellow Southern Cameroonians, fellow Ambazonians at home and in the diaspora, greetings to you all and welcome to Amba Community Hour ACH. I'm your host, Babareko. We would like to first and foremost remind you to subscribe to our channel, ACH, if you haven't done so. Please also like and share our content with all your friends and families to enable us reach a wider audience. We, at this juncture, would like to pay homage to all our fallen heroes. We would like to thank them for paying the ultimate price, and we say, may their souls rest in power, and that we have the responsibility to make sure that their blood does not go in vain. We also express our gratitude to all our people on Ground Zero for their enormous sacrifices and for keeping country Sunday holy. We say, keep on, stay strong. Let's continue to resist the oppressors till they lose their flesh. We move on to also say a word of encouragement to all our brothers and sisters in the dungeons of the Republic of Cameroon and also in the dungeons of Southern Cameroons. We say, take courage. Our destination is sure and we are going to reach Boya. We will not leave out all the refugees and those who are also internally displaced, as we know they call them IDPs. We hope that our struggle is going to be short so that we are soon going to go back home. Fellow comrades, Amba Community Hour is here to continue to mobilize our communities, and that is one of the objectives of Amba Community Hour, as it is a platform for the interaction of Ambazonian communities so that we can share our best practices and our experience and find a common solution to our common problems. We are here to continue to remind you that Amba Community Hour is for all Ambazonians at home and in the diaspora. So we look forward to seeing you here participate in our programs so that we will continue to push these goals together. At this juncture, let me give the word to my fellow comrades who are on the panel. And I'll start with Comrade Derek Yu, who is from the South African community. So, comrades, welcome to you. Welcome to Amba Community Hour. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Babare Recall, for having me on Amba Community Hour today, especially on this very important subject of building strong communities. I'm really excited to be on the show. I want to say greetings to all your viewers across the world, in Ground Zero especially. And I want to just reiterate the words that you said, that we pay homage to our brothers and sisters who have stood up to defend our communities, and we have respect for the resilience of those who are in prisons, our RDPs and our refugees. I am Comrade Derek Yu from the Ambazonian community in South Africa, and I'm excited to be on the program today to share with our community some of the work that we are doing and also to exchange ideas with comrades from other communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Derek Yu. It's a pleasure to have you here on this program for today. Next on the panel, we have Comrade Chivasava, who is from the Southern Cameroons community here in Germany. I would let him introduce himself, say a word to our fellow Southern Cameroonians, fellow Ambazonians, say a word to our dear viewers. Over to you, Comrade Chivasava.
Yes, thank you, Baba Reko. And good evening, fellow Ambazonians, wherever you are. My name is Asawankong from the Southern Cameroons Associations, Germany. I'm based here. My local community here in Germany is in Bavaria, where I'm based. I'm happy to be on the program today, especially when I see my brother, Comrade Derek Yu from the South African community. I'm happy he's here with us so that we can talk about how we can build strong Amazonian communities, especially in the diaspora where we are based. I'm also saluting all my fellow brothers and sisters on the ground, on back in Ambazonia, from Fako to Ndonga Mantong. Today, you just said, Mr. Moderator, we have to talk why this community building and mobilization, why we need it today, but much more than ever before. We have to talk a couple of things, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you too, Comrade Saba. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Fellow comrades, dear Southern Cameroonians, dear Amazonians, the message we have for you today is a very, very special one because it concerns the mobilization of Amazonian communities, especially in the diaspora. I'm sure if you take a look around, you will see the need for a change to take place, especially regarding our liberation struggle. So, my fellow comrades on the panel, um, why? What is the need for us to come to mobilize Southern Cameroonians, Amazonians worldwide to build strong Amazonian communities? Where have we coming from and where are we heading to? I will let Comrade Derek you to start by letting the cat out of the bag. Over to you, Comrade Derek. You.
Thank you again, Babareko, for this opportunity. It's a very important question that you are asking, and I think that the best way for us to respond to this question is to look back where we are coming from. In 2016 and early 2017, when the current phase of our struggle just gained momentum, especially in the diaspora, there was what for of the SCNC always calls visible diplomacy, which was protests that were had around the world from various countries of comrades from southern Cameroon's extraction around the world, going out to embassies, to the United States Nations buildings, and to various international organizations in protest, decreeing uh, that the treatment of the Cameroon forces of our people in our local communities is wrong. And through that protest action, we saw a lot of international media carrying our struggle. We saw a lot of movement in the international scene, although it was slow, but we did see movement. Over the last 4 years, a lot of that has disappeared, and the struggle, especially in the diaspora, has faced some sort of stagnation. People are tired, people are confused, some people are disgruntled. There's issues within our struggle. And some of us have, after lots of soul searching, with leadership from comrades in the community in Germany, we came to the conclusion that if we must address these problems, we must go back to the drawing board and start from what was working, which was our communities. Because the community led approach is a bottom up approach, which fits into, what is happening at the top. And community participation is really the heartbeat of a revolution. So that is what we are trying to re engineer right now. And we think that back in our communities, as we get together as a community of people from Southern Cameroons, is a better medium and forum for people to address the issues that we are facing as a struggle, and also to start resolving or putting in place mechanisms to avoid the kind of mistakes that we have made up to now that has led our struggle down the path that it has gone to. So there is momentum building in communities, but I think this community education is going to be the most important aspect of it. where comrades from various communities would come onto this community hour and share ideas of what they are doing in their communities, challenges that they are facing, and then our people from communities around the world would also share feedback and ideas. I think it's through that engagement that we would start rebuilding that sense of belonging and participation in our struggle again. Thanks again for that wonderful question.
That's right, Comrade Derek. You know, like you just said, um, a lot of things have changed in the liberation struggle of the people of Southern Cameroons, up to the extent that we hear some of them are saying that we are thing. You know, but we know that there is a popular saying that goes thus that the only thing that is constant in the universe is change. You know, if we Amazonians understand that law, we have to come to terms with the fact that whenever something is not moving well, there need to be a change, and we have the sole responsibility to make sure that that change is effected. So I will give the word now to Comrade to Chief Asaba to also say a word in that same line that Comrade Derek you just spoke. Why? What is the need for us to come to Amba Community Hour at this juncture to mobilize our people to build strong Ambazonian communities? Over to you, Chief Asaba.
Yes, um, it's of paramount importance that that we do what we can do best, right? And we can only do that when Comrade Derek, you just gave that keyword, this bottom up approach, you know. And that is where I think that when I saw that this 2025 and even before the close of 2024, that there was already some dynamism and about how to build this community, I think that this is the real thing to do, because we can only profit from it. Because looking at, as Derek you has said, from 2016 to go down to 2019, 2020, with the beginning of COVID, you know, we were faced with a lot of challenges, you know. You can name them. So we have to go back to the drawing board, and that is only by starting with the communities. This bottom-up approach. People in South Africa, like Comrade Derek Yu, who is here, people in Germany, we have done that. We are still doing it. We have gotten also our own challenges, but we try to keep the community together because we talked about this. There are advantages because we know each other. We have learned our lessons, and this is the time for us to start to build those communities. And Amber Community, our Babariko, I think is the place, as you just said. We want people to come out here because this building strong Ambazonian communities, especially in the diaspora. This is what I think the least that we can do, because even if you are just two of you, be it in India, in South Africa, as Comrade Derek you who is here, we have a very, in the UK, in Finland, you come together because, and then you study. You know yourself.
Yeah.
You know your host country where you are. You all come from Ambazonia. You sit down when things are not working and you ask yourself, so
What can we do?
what
Yeah.
can we do? And I'm just saying this because this is where we want to take back this community approach to pan a bit and fight this Ambazonian revolution through building strong communities, because we know very well that when we sit together like you and I, Babariko, here in Germany, or when we have the chance, we'll talk about that. we iron out our differences. It is about the people of Southern Cameroons. It is about Ambazonia. It is about the struggling mass of the people. Comrade
Yes.
David, you and you in the introduction, you just said about all those people who are languishing in the jail. So, what can we do to build strong communities? You sit down, we have done it. So, there are a lot of advantages when we use this community approach because we know each other. We are
Yeah.
not something that we will be talking in outer space, you know. You come together, you iron out the differences, but you then talk about what identifies you in that community as people, as that stock from Southern Cameroon's aka Ambazonia. So this
Yeah.
is the beginning.
You're right, Chief. You're right, Chief. Okay. Yeah, I think you have made some very good points there, especially talking to Amazonians that looking around the world, we have every nation having his or her own challenges and problems. But we can see that we as Ambazonians also, we would have we have the responsibility to stand up and take control and ask ourselves, what can we do to alleviate the suffering of our people? It is our responsibility. No one is going to do that for us. And that is what Amber Community has been saying. No one is going to tell our story better than us. No one is going to actively participate in alleviating the suffering of our people than us. No one feels the pains. No one understands the suffering. No one understands the struggle of our people than us. So we are coming to Amber Community to tell you, Amazonians, that it is time for you to stand up and take responsibilities. And that's why we are here. And we know that by building these communities, by building strong Amazonian communities, there are obviously many, many advantages because we have all seen the changing dynamics in our revolution. And we think this is the right time for us to concentrate, our energy, concentrate our focus on the foundation. So I would like now to turn to Comrade Darren and ask him that, as you mentioned before about the bottom-up approach, can you elaborate on how this approach strengthens the foundation of Amazonian communities and why it is crucial for our liberation struggle? Over.
Thanks again, Comrade Babareko. Yes, of course. I know that so many people are under the illusion, and if you look at the conversations that are happening in forums within the struggle, when comrades, proponents of community mobilization are pushing that we need to remobilize our communities, some people claim that communities have already been mobilized. They were mobilized in 2016. But when you ask them, our communities able to go out, and lead protests across the world within a day or 2 days notice the way we used to do it? No, we are not. Our communities able to mobilize and raise, say we need to raise $25,000 over the next 2 weeks for a particular advocacy action or some particular support on ground zero? No. So all of these are indicators that our communities are not mobilized, because when our communities were mobilized, if there was need for $15,000 to do something which is important for the struggle, once the country coordinators or the community coordinators are called upon, they will just divide it amongst the number of coordinators that were there. If it's 15 and we need to raise 25,000, they will say, okay, the bigger communities go for 2,000, the smaller communities 1,000, 1,500. And then within 2-3 days, the money is raised. We never disgraced ourselves in 2017 when there was an emergency. But right now, to raise $2,000, they will put up a list and they will share it in 10, 20 forums, and $600 would not even be raised. People don't feel belonging. They don't feel like they participate, or they don't feel like they co-own the struggle like it used to be in 2017. So I just want to say that again, to reinforce the arguments that our communities are no longer mobilized, and there is need and urgency for us to remobilize those communities. Now, how we remobilize those communities, again, it is starting over afresh. It is you sitting in the UK and saying, which comrades did I used to go out with and talk about Southern Cameroon with every day, who are also who are also staying here in the UK? You call them and you say, my brother, my sister, let us come together again as Ambazonians in the UK and see how we can rethink the struggle, look at some of the challenges in the struggle and start addressing them as comrades, not as members of this group or that group, and try to see if we can repair some of the damages, the trust that we have lost for each other because we are following one ideology or the other. Because at the end of the day, we are all Southern Cameroonians, and whether who is messing up and who is not messing up, at the end of the day, when the struggle fails, it's all of us who remains in exile. So when you start having those conversations at a community level, whether it's three, four, five of you, there's a tool that the community of Germany introduced, which is using a SWOT analysis. You would have a SWOT analysis of your community and you would examine the struggle at a broader level, the whole struggle, but also come down to your community and start asking yourself those critical questions. What happened
Yeah.
to the active participation that used to be there that is no longer there? What are the
Yeah.
challenges? And then you identify challenges, but you would still identify opportunities that you go out and sell to comrades and say, listen, these are the opportunities that we can be pursuing as a community. These are the challenges that we have faced that we can address as a collective. So it's important that we come together. I think when Chief Asaba comes in, he will talk more about that SWOT analysis because it really started from the community in Germany, and it's something that we adopted here in South Africa, and we ran it, and it pointed out some things, some key issues that we need to fix as a community, and we have started working on that, and we believe as things are coming together, it would enable us to bring back our people in South Africa to reinforce, and our people would start seeing, towards the middle and the end of this year, how the community in South Africa would rise again and be as powerful as it used to be in 2016, 2017. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very true, comrade. You've mentioned very, very pertinent points there. And we can all see that, by us concentrating in our communities, it's another way, of fostering the unity among Amazonians, because now we start seeing those lines, disappearing, because now the focus is now the flag, the focus is now the people on Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. So I will go to Chibasaba to ask him, as we are still talking about the advantages, of building strong Amazonian communities, Chibasaba. I think from what we understood is that by us coming in our communities to build our strong communities, by doing that, we establish strong communities now, which start to function as entities. So the question is, how does the establishment of such an entity helps? How does such an entity helps in communicating the plight of Amazonians to the host nation, and what steps can be taken to ensure that this communication is effective? Over.
Yes, you know, we here out in the diaspora, we we want to build strong Ambazonian communities. There are ways that you do this, and one of the main advantage is that we come together and we know each other. We want to control what we do, you know. I mean, it is as you said, Derek has just said it, that you have to sit down, even if you are only two or three, because you have to know that you are in a host, like we here in Germany, those in South Africa, if you are in India or if you are in South Korea, you identify yourself as Ambazonians. You have common issues. We have gotten through these past years and we know the trouble that we have. But now, if you are three or four of you together in a locality, you sit down, you know the country, you know your host country, You know your host country. There are rules and regulations that you have to do, because when you do that, you are not operating in darkness. You operate in the open. You explain the plight of the Amazonian people to your host community. You know, you can sit down with them, because the assumption that many of us do, as we have done in the past, is that we think that they know that they are killing people in southern Cameroons. Yes, they are killing, but that is not communicated enough. And that is one of the duties that we have as people from southern Cameroons out here to do so. So you register a community, but before you do that, you have to already identify yourself. You are a people, you have a common heritage, and many things alike. But then all that you do is that you want to come out in the open and then sell this Ambazonian community to your host country. There are so many ways you can do that.
Yeah,
You
Chibasawa, I think I'm getting you that you're saying when we are organized in an entity, it is easier for us to make some organized noise because that's what is needed. We have to make
exactly.
some noise in our areas. We can't make this noise individually, or else no one will hear us. So by coming in our communities, building an entity, aligning ourselves with the laws of our host nation, and then we were able to have a better communication with representatives of the governments of those nations and to better communicate the plight of Amazonians. So I think that point there is well, well driven, and I hope that our viewers, fellow Amazonians in our various communities are going to get that and also get in line. So sorry, I would like to hold you there for the moment. We have a lot of points here to lay out concerning the advantages, but I think because of time constraint, we will go now to talk to tell or to talk to our viewers, to talk to our fellow Amazonians how. Now we have heard about how the advantages. Let us go to talk about how. I think it's very important that this is the first program that we want to present concerning the mobilization of Amazonians to build a strong Amazonian community. So I think it will be quite very interesting or very important to inform them how would they go about building such a strong community. I think somewhere a few minutes ago, Comrade Derek, you already talked about the SWOT analysis and why it's important to conduct such a SWOT analysis, before building the foundation of such a community. I don't know, Comrade Derek, is there something you can add on to that? I know you already mentioned that
Oh, yes.
as one of the before about the
Yeah.
importance of making a SWOT analysis. Could you just make some additional comments on that? Over to you.
Okay. Yeah, so the SWOT analysis, like I mentioned, is when you come together as a community and you do such an analysis, it enables you to take stock of where the struggle currently is vis-a-vis
Yeah,
your community, and you would see opportunities, but you would also see challenges.
yeah,
Of course, not every group of Ambazonians know how to conduct a SWOT analysis. We have a team. There's comrades from Germany who are experts in this particular area. Where
yeah,
if people reach out and say we are in Belgium and we would like to conduct a SWOT analysis as the community in Belgium, they would get help from those comrades. They will help them design the questionnaires and they will go to their meeting, they will respond, spend a few hours response, and when they have those responses, those comrades can still help them analyze the responses and paint out a picture for them with clear steps of what they can do. Now, when you conduct a SWOT analysis as a community, you would see that one of the biggest advantages that you have as a community that comes up for every community is the power of advocacy. And you would see that advocacy it's driven and leveraged when you have a registered organization as a civil society wherever you are. It makes it possible for you to approach other civil societies, whether they are migrant rights, whether they are human rights protection, whether they are communication, all those agencies that are non-governmental agencies, they they cooperate and they are more open to speaking to other organizations instead of
Yeah.
you coming as an individual or you coming as a group. And when you articulate yourself as a group, it really doesn't align with the core mission and work of most of these advocacy groups. So they don't really connect with what you are saying. But when you go
Yeah.
as just a community of people who are in exile because of the crisis back at home, it is easy to connect with so many partners in solidarity who are also focused on various humanitarian struggles in their country or in other countries, and you would see that it's easy to find alignment, it's easy to find support, it's easy to find spaces where you would go and people would come and you will just share the story and the struggles of our people back at home. But also, you would see that in this social justice movement, which is the alliances that you form with civil society and other advocacy groups, you will see that there are spaces for various aspects of the struggle to be presented and real concrete action or direction is taken through those type of things. That's the advantages of us approaching the struggle from a community level. Of course,
Yeah.
earlier when I spoke, I talk of when we come together as a collective, it's easy it's easy to stand together as a collective and serve in times of emergencies. If there's a need in ground zero for us to raise, say, $20,000, $30,000, and we have 15 communities around the world, if we call coordinators from all these communities together and we say we need to raise $30,000, each coordinator would say our community is 200 people. I think we can easily do $50. We can raise
Yeah.
1,500. We would raise that
Yeah.
money
Very. Yeah,
without
please let me
raising.
just hold you. Let me just hold you there. I think the point you're making, you are saying, is actually also like you're also expressing like one of the advantages also of
Okay.
maybe working in our strong communities and where we're able to synchronize our actions. Right, that's the point
Mhm.
I'm making. But let me just take you back to the SWOT that you mentioned before.
Okay.
SWOT, it stands for the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats.
Mhm.
If you have done such an exercise in the South African community, I think we know that the strengths and opportunities are very positive, and those are things that we shouldn't be worried about. But what can you just tell us, our viewers, what are some of let me say, just a weakness and a threat that you identified there in your community?
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Now, thank you for that redirection. Okay, for instance, in our community here in South Africa, when we did a SWOT analysis late 2023, the main question that we sent out was asking our people what has caused them not to be actively participating in the struggle like they used to in 20s from 2016, 2018, 2019. The surprising response that came back that we at first the assumption that we had was that the struggle was being mismanaged, there was factionalism and all of that. It was the assumption that we at the level of leadership had. But to our surprise, when the responses came back from our people, we realized that there was a problem in South Africa in 2022 when we came back from lockdown. The home affairs system here in South Africa changed,
yeah,
where most of our people didn't get their documentation renewed. So when the systems changed, it left a lot of our people undocumented. Most of those people who were left undocumented now, they don't go around. When you call a meeting across town or in a different town, people who used to drive for 2, 3 hours to come to meetings, now they are worried that if they leave their local area where they stay and drive across town, they might get into trouble. Everybody is focused on that personal issue of documentation. Over
yeah,
and above that particular issue, there's a lot of our people, refugees, who have left home and they have managed and they have found themselves in South Africa that are also having one or two issues around documentation. So we ended up realizing that this is a core problem for our community in South Africa that if we don't, as leadership, look for ways to resolve, it will become very difficult for us to
yeah,
mobilize the kind of numbers that we saw in 2017, 2018. So the small leadership team that is in place, we did a lot of consultation with immigration lawyers and some migrant rights organizations, and we kind of came up with a plan of action of what needs to be done. A lot of those things are going to become more public knowledge in the days ahead as they materialize. So we would be doing public outings. It would start with, community forums where we would bring some lawyers, migrant lawyers, to talk to our people about their pathways to documentation, the ones that are undocumented or the ones that have challenges with their documentation. But as leadership, we are trying to bring our community back together to say this is a collective problem. The people, those of us who have gotten to the level of having IDs and now we are permanent residents, we can play a bigger role in advocating for those who are having those challenges to show them that humanity part, that Ubuntu. Here in South Africa, we call it Ubuntu. You are
Yeah,
because we are, kind of a thing. And I believe that as we go with that project here in South Africa, as it will start working here in South Africa, maybe that challenge is similar around the world. Other communities would, follow some of the things and adapt to their communities and start actually really helping our people. You know,
yeah,
2 weeks ago, I was in a meeting with the community in Boston, and they were discussing how they could mobilize the community in the US. We have a big community of our Southern Cameroonians across states in the United States. And this idea of having a Southern Cameroon's cultural day where we would call cultural groups to come and display our culture, which is something that we all connect to at
yeah.
a very granular level. So that idea became very exciting in that meeting, and people were like, no, this is going to work. So that's something that we are expecting the comrades in the US to build on. And it's something that happened in Tübingen in Germany. Your community in Germany did some sort of a Southern Cameroon's cultural day in Tübingen. So those are the things that when we come together and have conversations as communities, they would come up, which are group neutral, which are things that will just bring us together to work together as a people and really show that
Sure, sure.
strength in togetherness. Thank you.
Okay, let me just hold you there for a moment. Thank you so much for that great input. My next question will go into Comrade Chivasava. But before I pose the question, I would just like to read out something that we put together
Okay.
because this message is going out to all Southern Cameroonians who are out there in their communities and they are looking for the way forward. And as we are already out here, trying to to tell our comrades that we think the better way forward for us, to make a better contribution to the liberation struggle is for us to build a strong Amazonian communities. And we know that we can do that by coming together, one or two or three people can come together, they review and analyze the dynamics of our liberation struggle, how it was then and what has happened up to now. That is through the SWOT analysis. You set up goals and objectives in line with the result that you have obtained from your SWOT analysis. You name the community and you draw up a constitution to align with the laws of the host nation. You elect an executive in accordance with the constitution, and then you register your community. And after doing that, you start now to carry out activities to execute the goals and objectives of such a community. And while you do that, you seek collaboration with other communities. And you can go ahead to organize physical events, cultural events, demonstrations, just like what Derek just mentioned in his contribution. So I will go on now to ask Chivasava, from what you have seen the steps that we have just analyzed, that we've just put down, that we think a community can follow to build their communities. One of the very, very most important elements there is the drawing up of a constitution to ensure that it aligns with both the host nation and the laws and the aspirations of the Ambazonia. Can you just mention to us what are the critical elements that can be included in such a community constitution, so that to ensure that it aligns with both the host nations and laws, and also the aspirations of Amazonians? Over to you, Sebastian.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Derek, for being so elaborate on what and specific on what you've just done in South Africa. And before I come back to you, Babarek, just
Yeah.
this, those things that been registering a community. Yeah, after you have sat down together in the SWOT, and then the thing is that you have to register this community. Register it is that you do not operate in darkness. This is what gives you the legality. And there are some core key points that you have to have in this when you are doing it. And it varies because you have to align after you have done the SWOT analysis, your objectives, you have to align them with the rules, the laws of the local community in which you are based. This is very important. And one of the key components that you have put in there is that humanitarian aspect. Because I mean, as we are mobilizing and building these communities in the diaspora, our main concern first is because we are from Ambazonia, and secondly, because we want to build a bridge between this our community in the diaspora and ground zero. And when we put that humanitarian aspect in our constitution, yes, we are already, I mean, because that is where, with that one alone, we can already raise some money, because that is the money that is badly needed for the suffering masses who are paying that ultimate price on a daily basis on the ground. That is very important. That one, that humanitarian component, and it is, I know, because I've done it, quite a few of them, that be it in South Africa, in the UK, or even anywhere, when you put that you will always have already met one of those prerequisites of the local community. But as I say, it varies. One other component is also because you are building a community in the diaspora. You have already identified your main objectives. Yeah, you have to pan a bit those objectives to align with those. And one of those things that we as an Ambazonian community, we want to showcase, highlight who we are out here. And one of that component that we also put in there is like to build bridge between our community in the diaspora and the German community, for example, in which we are based, and our community in there, through our cultural activities, through our outings out here, what we do. That is also something that they want to see in those documents when you present them to your local authorities. It can be something in this, because this is very important, because when you do that, you meet, we have heard the advantages, you can communicate easily. Comrade Derek, you mentioned it. Yes, because all what we have to do, because we had a SWOT analysis here in Germany, if I can just say this, because I know we are running out of time, you
Yeah, please
know.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, we are really running out of time, because I just want to finish this up because before we take this out of length, is
Yeah,
that
just
we
go
sat
ahead.
we sat in during this SWOT analysis for 3 days. We sat in there for 3 days. That was 2020. We had actually foreseen that SWOT analysis to take place on the 28th of March 2020 at Erfurt in Tübingen, in Thüringen, in the east of Germany. But due to the constraints of COVID-19, we had to revert to an online session where we had 3 days. That was the 28th of March 2020, the 11th of April 2020, and the 25th of April 2020. That means fortnightly. Then let me just read the summary of what we had during the first phase of our SWOT analysis. After having made several attempts to resolve some of the issues the community was faced with in addressing the Southern Cameroon Ambazonian Revolution, it was thought that a come together in a workshop was necessary. It was obvious that the initial spirit, steam, and momentum of the members of the community was slowing down. This was very obvious because the number of participants at events was rapidly decreasing, financial contributions were drying out, the rift in the community was on the rise, the all for one and the one for all spirit has lost its value. People had invested a lot, but the results were seen differently by members of the community. The SWOT workshop, which was initially planned to take place at Effort on 28 March 2020, was transformed into an online Zoom workshop due to COVID-19. At the workshop, which took a total of 3 days, 28 March 2020, 11th April 2020, and 25th of April 2020, beginning from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., the participants, after an initial stage of sorting out themselves, settled down and went into serious working sessions and deliberations. In the plenary session, which means all participants, the objectives, the strengths and opportunities of the community were discussed and deliberated upon intensively. All the points were noted down without exception and documented. Based on the objectives identified and considering the issues and problems which led to the SWOT workshop, the participants broke out into group sessions where the weaknesses and the threats were deliberated and discussed upon. In the group sessions, the weaknesses and the threats were discussed and analyzed with the help of a facilitator and all the points documented. Finally, in the plenary sessions, the points discussed at the group sessions were clustered. They were clustered and documented accordingly. This clustering is very important because there are different groups, so you have to cluster them and document them. The countermeasures to the threats and weaknesses were discussed intensively, and the decisions arrived at were voted upon and documented also. The last day in a plenary session of the workshop was dedicated to clustering the countermeasures, deliberating on providing solutions to the way forward. The Ambazonian community in Germany has, through this SWOT analysis, demonstrated her commitment and determination in addressing the problems which our community in Germany and the diaspora are confronted with. After 4 years of hard confrontation with the challenges of the revolution, I'm reading what we wrote in 2020. So today is 2025, so you know. It should be noted that it is by putting into practice the proposals and the resolutions of the workshop as a collective effort of the community that the fruits of this process will contribute to building, mobilizing, and educating our people as we fight our way to Boya. Long live the people of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Short live the struggle. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chimasawa, for reading that conclusion from the SWOT of SCA Germany. Thank you so much. I think the words have spoken for themselves. Dear comrades, fellow viewers, I think we are running short of time, and we'll be tearing down the program in a few minutes. We should say that, Chimasawa, dear comrades, one of the legends, in our liberation struggle, made a powerful speech in the Lion's Den, and he said, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. And it is our duty to resist. Fellow comrades, dear viewers, fellow Ambazonians, the question to you is, what are you doing in your community to make sure you resist the injustice that is meted upon the people of Southern Cameroon? One of the themes or the theme that Honorable had when he visited the German community on the 14th of May 2022 was that the blood of every slain Amazonian cries out to us. We
The
must
blood.
hear the cries now with
Yes.
action. The blood of every slain Amazonian cries out to us. We must heed their cries now with action.
Baba recall when you say that, I can still hear that song that Honorable Weber.
Yeah.
And then you compose even a song out of that.
Yes.
The
So the question to
voice
our
of
comrade,
every slain Ambazonian
yes,
cries
yes,
out to us.
to us.
The
What are you doing?
voice, yes.
What are you doing in your community to hit this call? Hundreds of our villages have been burned down. Our people have been burned alive in their homes. Our people are languishing in the dungeons of La Republic Cameroon. There has been so much destruction, so much loss of life, so many massacres. And we sit here in the diaspora in our comfort zones and said that nothing. It is unto us. It's only Ambazonians, only us who are going to free ourselves. We should never wait for no one. Please, this is a wake-up call. We are here to send out this powerful message that let us begin by building our communities. I'm sure that there's so much that we can do to give back the momentum that our liberation struggle deserves so that our people can go back home. So my comrades on the panel, I would like you to say your final words so that we don't stay long here. So I will start with Comrade Derek. Over to you, Comrade.
What an insightful conversation it has been, Comrade Babariko. I want to thank the viewers of Community Hour for staying tuned. I would beg that they should share, forward this information to our various forums to get more and more of our people watching. This conversation is just the beginning, as a tip of the iceberg when it comes to the whole initiative of remobilizing our communities. And I'm sure in subsequent sessions, we would bring more guests and we would dissect, the work that is being done and the work that needs to be done. Like
Yes.
both of you have said, it's only through work, us getting our hands and our feet on the ground and doing work in the diaspora that we can demonstrate to our brothers and sisters at home that their sacrifices are not going to go in vain, that the blood that
Yeah.
has been spilled in our community is not going to go in vain. So there's work to be done, and we would use this platform to educate each other, remind each other, support each other, but over and above all, let us get out in our communities and actually get to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those final words to our viewers. Shivasawa, over to you.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me on the program, Building Strong Ambazonian Communities. I was happy to be here on this program, and then as Comrade Derek, you from the South African community, I just said, we have just started this program about how to mobilize and build our communities in the diaspora. Fellow viewers, fellow Ambazonians from Fako to Ndonga Mantung and worldwide, please stay tuned. We'll be back.
Yes. Yes, we are going to be back. I'm not going to say much, as I already made my conclusion. Dear comrades, fellow Ambazonians watching us, please, there's something that you have to do. Do not continue to be in slumber. Do not stay in your comfort zone. Do not forget your home, because it's a very beautiful place. It's a very rich place. It's a place full of potentials. Please, let's come together. Let's not give up. We cannot forget about our people. We cannot forget, about the sacrifices that we have made. We cannot let the blood of all the slain ones to go in vain. The onus is on us. It's our responsibility to answer the call. Because if we look around us, wherever we are, in whatever country we are, they had their own time. This is a time of our own struggle. This is the time that our moral is being tested, our integrity is being tested. What are you doing to make sure that our people are free? Can you sleep comfortably in your bed and see our people being slaughtered, and you watch it on your screens, and you have a comfortable the night? You don't think that's how it should be. That's not part of our culture. In our culture, we come together when someone is in pain. In our culture, we come together, to make sure that the community lives in peace and there's happiness. It's our responsibility. So please stand up, make your name be written down in this history of our liberation struggle. Stay tuned for part 2 of the program, where we shall continue to discuss the things that we're able to discuss today. I want to thank so much my comrades who are on the panel for the great contributions I've made today, and thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for part 2 of building strong Amazonian communities on Amba Community Hour. Goodbye.